Hello, class. Now we're going to talk about stabilization policy and Keynesian economics. Okay, so basically, up until the Great Depression in the 1930s, the main policy approach to economics by most governments all across the world was called laissez-faire economics. And that basically means that governments will refuse to intervene in the economy because they argue in the long run the economy fixes itself anyway, self-corrects, which is true. But so they claim that, as I said before, they claim that that any intervention in the economy will only actually have unintended and unforeseen consequences, and in the long run, the economy self-correct. So there's no point. You shouldn't do intervening. Don't intervene. However, it's true. Like I said, it's true. However, as John Maynard Keynes would argue in 1923, I can speak. Quote, in the long run, we're all dead. I know what you're thinking. Wow, like, in the long run, we're all dead? What? No! It's a very revolutionary concept, I know. But yeah, so he argued during the Great Depression, this would happen about 6 years later after he originally said that, that government intervention, he argued for government intervention in the economy to help get through the Great Depression. And then with his books and his theories that he ended up publishing throughout his life, he would go on to found modern macroeconomic theory. So the most important concept that his theories revolved around was stabilization policy, and that's what we're talking about right now, I think. So you're probably wondering, what the heck is stabilization policy, right? Like, I've been talking about all the history and stuff, but I haven't even told you what stabilization policy is yet. Well, now it's time, my friends. So you probably infer, though, that it has something to do with government intervention. And it has to do with, the government should intervene in the economy. Which, if that is the case, Gibbons, give them a gold star, because you've been obviously paying attention. So stabilization policy is divided into two separate parts. Retractionary policy for when the economy is going through a boom or it's in overproduction, and expansionary policy for when the economy is in a recession. Okay, let's start off talking about expansionary policy. It is when the economy is in a recession, the economy is producing at a point within the production possibilities curve or frontier, whatever you want to call it. While the short run equilibrium of the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply is to the left of the long run aggregate supply. How is this going to look on the video? Oh, jeez. It works perfectly. Yeah, aggregate. Yeah, I'm doing it right. Sorry for my brain fart right there. What my point I was trying to make is that when an economy is within the PPC or the equilibrium point for the short run aggregate supply and the aggregate demand curves are to the left of the long run equilibrium. Why is my life coming up? Oh, they're back now. The economy is not producing at it's not utilizing all of its resources. So when a country's economy is producing within the production possibilities frontier or curve, whatever you like to call it, or if it is producing to the left of the long run aggregate supply curve, it is not using its resources to its fullest extent. Which means if a government decides to step in and either
start spending money through government programs, increasing subsidies or transfer payments, or decreasing taxes, it will shift the aggregate demand curve to the right, thus bringing it closer, the equilibrium point, closer to the long-run aggregate supply, making it, bringing us and ending the recession, really. So when the government takes those actions, right, it will bring the short-run the equilibrium to the right and bringing it closer to the long-run aggregate supply. Which the reason why the government shouldn't be doing that while the economy is not in a recession is because of a concept called crowding out. So when a government decides to spend during a recession, it will likely create jobs and give jobs to people who are cyclically unemployed. Those people would not be able to find jobs otherwise because of the recession. Meanwhile, if a government decides to spend money during a boom or an economic boom, it will just create jobs to people who are frictionally unemployed, who could find a job in another part of the private sector. That is crowding out. The government does not want to have to compete against the private sector, because at that point, if your goal is just to create jobs, then it's not really helping, because there are already other jobs in the economy, and it's just wasteful spending at that point. So instead of increasing spending during an economic boom and causing crowding out, what the government should be doing is what is called contractionary policy. Contractionary policy is about cutting government spending, increasing taxes in order to balance the budget. Also potentially decrease inflation and other smaller economic distortions created by government spending. Government intervention, actually. Not just spending. The problem with retractionary policy, though, is that it is difficult to implement because the general public does not like having a decrease in the government programs or an increase in taxes. Grrr, I hate taxes!
So basically, to summarize what I've been saying this past who knows how long, into one sentence. When the economy is doing good, stop it. Stop the spending and increase taxes. When the economy is doing bad, increase spending and cut taxes. Sure.